All right, we get rolling on the Krug Show, the brand new open there, courtesy of Kevin Krueger. We're back talking Niners. It's July the 19th. Krug Show brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open now in both spots from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. or until they run out, both in Emeryville, inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace, and in Corte Madera. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. And we're back talking Niners with our good buddy Wayne Breezie, who joins us from Connecticut. What's up, Breezie? How are you, man? Good to see you.
What's going on, Larry? Long time no see. It's good to be here. I've been taking a little small hiatus. I've been coming on periodically, once or twice a week, and just working on some things around the home and enjoying the family this off season. But you know what? In about 6 days, it's about to drop. So
It's on.
It's on, baby, like popcorn.
Well, I'm fired up to have you here. We're excited to talk Niner ball. We had the brand new intro there from Kevin Krueger, who very tight, only about 10-second intro, shortening the intro. And I see that you're working on putting together a deck.
Yes.
Or at least rehabbing your deck and adding to your deck with your father-in-law out there in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So you're doing the honeydews, and we're getting ready for training camp. And man, I had a couple weeks. I went to the beach, took the family to the beach for a week, and just sat there on the sand thinking about, man, what this season's going to be like and what this camp is going to be like. And Breezy, I got to be honest, I am excited for training camp, almost like I've never been excited for any training camp in the past, because I just feel like there's so much that is going to be absolutely riveting story-wise surrounding 49er training camp. I would beg to argue that the Niner training camp might be one of the most compelling training camp competitions that we've seen, definitely in the league this year, but really for several years, because the unknown surrounding it's a Super Bowl contender, but there's a lot of unknown around the quarterback. Brock Purdy had a great year, but how's that elbow? Sam Darnold has not had a great career, but man, all indications are they love him. Trey Lance just worked with Jeff Christensen, and I thought he looked great in the OTAs and minicamp. And anytime you're a Super Bowl contender and you've got a major question or questions to be answered at the quarterback position, that right there makes camp incredibly compelling, and I can't wait till they roll the balls out there and start this competition. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, competition is the key. It's what it is at every position, though, Larry. And that's what's crazy. And listen, when training camp tickets go like hotcakes, that's when it's about to be on. Like the 49er training camp tickets so fast. And now people, of course, they're marking them up. So, look, you're gonna want to be there. If you have a way to get there, get there. Like Larry said, there's gonna be so many compelling stories, and I want to just go for the battles. I want to watch the wide receivers battle it out. I want to watch the cornerbacks battle it out. We got to talk about one of the new cornerbacks in Terrell Luter Jr. Being placed on the PUP list. I want to get your thoughts on that. You know what I mean? Because that was one of the people that I had circled to put a star around. I really felt like this kid had a chance of cracking this 53. So we're gonna see what happens. But I know you're excited, Larry. I can't wait to hear your takes and watch your interviews and things like that. And I just can't wait to put out great content from the greatest team in the world, the San Francisco 49ers.
No doubt at all. And Spaghetti is saying to me in the chat, he says, Larry, your audio is very sketchy. Are you catching me? How's the audio coming across to you, Breezy?
You sound clear as a deer, baby. You sound really good. We got the same setup. Sounds really good.
Okay, when Eric says, am I tripping, or is Larry's audio a little weird?
I don't know.
I don't know what to say about that. Guys, is it still sounding a little funky to you? Because we did have a little internet issue earlier today, and I'm trying. I might have hit a couple different buttons.
I do that.
You never. I'm not the most technically savvy guy. Let's see. what did it say? It says Quincy says, yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah, they say it does sound funky.
Audio
It could
sounds
maybe
funky. It's
you could.
echoing.
Oh, is it echoing? Just go to your settings, go to audio from
Let me go. Let me go to my settings here.
on
Sorry to do
StreamYard.
this.
StreamYard.
Okay, I'm going there.
They got a bunch of new features.
Echo
Take that
cancellation.
off.
Take off echo cancellation.
Yeah, and then click reduce mic background noise.
Ah, look at you.
All right. So you
How's
should
that?
sound better. You sound good
How's
to
that?
me.
How's that, everybody? I've made a little change. Mike
They say
Fuss says you sound a little distant.
I don't. They say almost robotic. Okay, so I know what that is.
Wait a second. Let me go back to my settings.
So no. What you're gonna have to do, and I know you're not gonna want to do this, but I promise I'm gonna hold you down.
Okay.
You're gonna have to leave StreamYard, reset your computer, and restart your computer, and then come back. It's a technical. This happens to me. If you can ask anybody that watches my show, this happens to me every time the computer updates and I don't restart it. So
so I will check out of StreamYard. You can hold down the fort for
I'll
a couple
hold
minutes,
down the fort for a couple
and
minutes,
I'll be
but
right back.
you got to restart your computer.
I'll do it. Here, I'll be back in a minute. Sorry, Breezie.
All right. All right. So Larry is getting his audio fixed, but listen, let me tell you how great it is for me. I'm very honored to be a guest on Larry's show. Listen, we got a lot of stuff that we're going to get to. The Trey Lance takes are going to be really cool. I'm excited to see. Let me ask you guys this. You know, Trey Lance looks like he's going to be coming into camp hot. I feel like with all of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, the things that he's doing to prepare for his third season in the NFL, he's going to be coming into camp hot. He's going to be coming into camp with a chip on his shoulder. What are your expectations for Trey Lance out there? Larry and I are going to talk about that. I can't post them up there. I don't have the controls to do so, but I will read them off in the chat. So what are your expectations for Trey Lance as he comes into camp? Are they set really high? Are they kind of like in the middle? Or are they low? Are there no expectations for Trey Lance? I'm curious to see what it is. Alec Parker says, but tis is too little too late, Wayne. But it's too little too late. What's too little too late, Alec? I'm curious to know what you mean, because I feel like Lance is going to come in on fire. Listen, if you go back to Lance's career in the NFL, he came in, they drafted him as a rookie. He sat behind Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know how, like, I didn't like that. I don't feel like any quarterback should sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo. I feel like there's nothing Jimmy Garoppolo can do other than to teach you how to be a professional, maybe. But as far as playing quarterback, that ain't the guy you want to sit behind. But he did it. He did it willingly, right? And then the next year, he was the starting quarterback. He got hurt. Can Trey do it?
I'm back. How's it? Is it better?
I think you sound great to me. I think you sound great to them by now.
All right, guys. Let me know in the chat if it's sounding any better or any worse. We may have to.
I was asking everybody their expectations for Trey Lance, and I see that some people say they're low. He's competing for a second spot. Some people have high expectations. Some people love the competition. I love this. I love this. And that's the story that you were talking about. Like, this is all generated by the San Francisco 49ers, hence Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. I don't know if they're battling one another. Maybe they're competing. Hey, my guy looks better than your guy. And maybe my guy. I don't know whose guy is whose. All I know is we got 3 quarterbacks, and they're all going to be competing for the number 1 spot. Larry, you sound good too, by the way, to them.
Okay, good. I'm glad that sounds good. I'm just, fired up to see what Trey looks like this summer. I'm a real believer that he's going to improve. Why? Because he looked better in the minicamp.
Yeah.
I thought, and Slick says you sound the same. Says your new mic just needs some adjustment. Well, I don't know what to say about that. We'll have to go with it right now for the meantime, and then we'll adjust on the fly. But I would just say that, the one thing I've seen from Trey in the minicamp is that, I thought Alex Smith kind of made a interesting comment to Matt Maiocco this weekend in Tahoe. And he basically said, hey, look, you can talk about arm strength and 40 times and all kinds of different measurements and measurables, but it really comes down to your ability to process, how accurate can you be, and how good's your timing. And I think that Trey's always had good processing ability. I think he can process what he sees. I think it's always been about his mechanics. And now going to work with Christensen and Mahomes, ironing out his mechanics. What I saw with my eyes at the minicamp and in the OTAs was I saw what I saw last year from Brock Purdy. I feel like I saw this year with Trey Lance. Last year with Brock Purdy, he was mastering every drill. It was like he was a 5-year vet. Like he had run every drill that they were doing in camp. He had run it many times, and he was just absolutely mastering it. The ball was coming out on time. It was coming out accurately. There was a lot of consistency there. He just looked very comfortable, like he was a 5-year vet instead of being a rookie. Trey last year, I felt looked like kind of stiff and kind of mechanical, and was really trying to throw everything with a lot of zip. He was throwing some hard passes, but sometimes they were airmailing, sometimes they were low. What I saw this year was a very comfortable Trey, a guy whose mechanics seemed to be a little bit ironed out, and he was throwing the ball with better tempo. So on the shorter throws, he's throwing it softer. On the deeper throws, he's throwing it harder. But the ball is coming out on time more. I think that has a lot to do not only with Christensen and Mahomes and working with those guys, but also just getting to know, being comfortable in this offense, getting your arms all the way around it, and then also understanding your receivers. Every receiver is a little different. They run their patterns a little different. I felt like he was in step with them. I just saw generally, Breezie, a more comfortable, confident-looking Trey Lance. And so that's what I expect we're going to see this summer. I think he's really going to play well. I think he's going to outplay Sam Darnold for that second job. And I really expect Trey to really show his best effort this year. And there's other people that are like, oh my goodness, look how long it's taken. Well, first of all, the first year was a redshirt year. The second year was injured super early. He lost that year. So this is really his third year, but you're also talking about a quarterback who played at the FCS level, and no quarterback in the last 40 years had thrown fewer passes in college than Trey Lance had and went in the first round. So there's levels of everything, and to say that he was raw, I don't really think speaks to it. He was more raw than almost any quarterback prospect we've ever seen. And so, to me, it makes perfect sense that it would take a year or two, or in this case, now this is going into year 3, where before he fully gets it, fully is ready to roll. And I just think we're going to see that this summer. And I think the people who, decided already that he can't play and will never be able to play, I would direct those people to go look at the Hall of Fame quarterbacks that have played in the NFL. I did a video on this. If you want to go watch my video on the Krug Show, go watch it. I did a whole breakdown. I went through every Hall of Fame quarterback who's ever played in the NFL. And what I found is that the guys who hit the ground running, Dan Marino, Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck, Ben Roethlisberger, I guess you could argue Patrick Mahomes, those guys are the exception. They are not the rule. The rule is the other guys. Steve Young started slow. Joe Montana started slow. Dan Fouts started slow. Kurt Warner didn't even make it till he was 28. Same thing with Len Dawson. Same thing with Sonny Jurgensen. The rule is that it takes time. And there are exceptions to the rule, but there was no real logical reason to think that Trey would have been the exception to the rule when you factored his college experience, the pandemic, the FCS level. There was every reason to believe that there was going to be a ramp-up period. And I think that's all that we've seen. And I think the people who have already decided that, that Trey can't play, I think those people better get ready to backpedal and get ready to own their comments, because the reality is this kid's going to get nothing but better and better and better and better. And if you say that he's nothing, and you say that he's a bust, and you put that kind of finality on it, you're going to look bad. And I'm just telling you up front. So that's how I feel about it. I fully expect him to play well this summer. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. Everything you said, it was pretty much spot on. I think that the issue to me with Trey Lance, even though you pinpointed on the accuracy and the mechanics and things like that, I just really think it was lack of experience. I mean, sometimes in football, yes, you want the mechanics, you want it's that's something that quarterbacks kind of like develop over time, especially quarterbacks that play like they the more they do it, the better their mechanics get, right? Well, you talked about Trey Lance not playing a lot. And so like the inexperience to me is really is what's setting him back. Like how can he fix his mechanics? I mean, he can learn from Jeff Christensen all day long, but then he still has to go out there and do it. I think Trey Lance is going to get those opportunities to go out there and do it, especially during training camp, preseason, things like that. And I think he's going to uh wow the team again. He's going to wow his coaches. They're going to be enamored by him once again, just like they were when they drafted him. Trey Lance has a different set of skills, and I know everybody is like, "Oh, well, he can't run to the outside. He can't do this." There's a lot of things Trey Lance can do. I was just watching the play when Trey Lance started against Arizona. His what was his rookie year? He started against Arizona.
Yeah.
And remember the play where he tried to get that touchdown? Man,
against Isaiah Simmons.
Against Isaiah Simmons. Yeah, and let me break that down for you because everybody was now if he would have scored, no one would have said anything. Everybody would have been like, "Oh, Trey Lance." But because he didn't score, it became an issue. And when you go back and watch that play, there's so much shit that broke down on that play. Like, who didn't block 51? Because Trey Lance didn't see 51. 51 was on the line of scrimmage. He wasn't even in the play. He had 55 beat, and he would have bone crushed Isaiah Simmons. Trey Lance got lower than Isaiah Simmons. So Isaiah Simmons would have been on top of him, and Trey Lance would have been right under. It was 51 that made the stop. Now, I get it that was a bonehead run by Trey Lance, and there were other options. He could have probably tossed it, but guess what? That was his first start. Like those are the things that he needs to get the reps in, right? He needs to do stuff over and over again. I guarantee you on that playback, he'll probably toss it or pump fake it, make the guy jump in the air. You just drop kick the dude in the head. There's so many things Trey Lance would go back in retrospect and say he could have did. But like I said, if whoever 51's responsibility, whoever that guy was, should have been blocked. If that guy was blocked, he wouldn't have been in on the play, would have been a touchdown. And I guarantee you Trey Lance would have got his first win against Arizona. So there's so many facets to this kid's game. I think my biggest, my huge thing that I love about him, the thing that I crush the most is that he's going to force defenses to play honest, and I don't think we've seen that as a San Francisco 49er probably since the Colin Kaepernick days, mainly because Kaepernick will pull the ball down and just run past everybody. That's not Trey Lance's game, but he has the ability to run the ball. And so when he does have that ability, there's no more cheating in the box. And I feel like our running backs get crushed. Like everybody's getting crushed because there's 7 people, 8 people sometimes in the box knowing that the 49ers are going to try to what? Run the ball. Why? They want to set up play action. So when you have that quarterback that's going to keep that safety out of the box because somebody's got to be accounted for this quarterback because if Trey Lance sees everybody downfield, everybody's in coverage, and there's one guy, it's takeoff city.
And back to the Simmons thought too. It's like that's what Trey did at North Dakota State. I mean, he ran guys over. So and we all know that you can't do it.
That's his instinct. That was his instinct.
That was his instinct, and it was so early on. And and at that point, I think the player that Trey was at that Arizona game is a totally different player than he is right now. Right? I mean, he was so raw. He was so new.
Everything was a run. Everything.
And he's learned a lot since then. Right. I personally think that you're going to see a lot better player this
maturity
summer.
Is definitely going to be there, Larry. I think you talked about that. And then his confidence. I think the more. All right, let me. Trey Lance was hitting Trent Sherfield, Danny Gray, and these guys that aren't cream of the crop in stride. Like, imagine when he's starting to finally get to throw with his boy Brandon Ayuk. Deebo Samuel looks phenomenal. George Kittle will be available now. Remember, Kittle wasn't available at the beginning of last season. Like he's gonna be able to like really open up and gain that confidence. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna start in preseason. We're not gonna get the full kit and caboodle during preseason, but I'm still on board saying Trey Lance starts week 1. So that's where I am.
Okay, you think he starts week 1 because Purdy's on IR, because Purdy's not ready, or do you think he actually beats out Purdy in the preseason?
I don't. So I don't think Purdy's going to be ready. And even if Purdy was ready, I wouldn't send Purdy to Pittsburgh, and I wouldn't risk it. Like you like Purdy, you want Purdy to be available, but you're gonna send him to that team, that defense, week 1, coming off of that injury. You got options. So Kyle, if I'm Kyle, and Trey Lance looks good in preseason, there's no way I'm pulling this kid out from starting week 1.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And then other people would argue, you're setting Trey up to fail. You're
Not
starting at
necessarily.
Heinz Field against this big bad Steeler front with TJ Watt.
Let's see what that young kid can do under that type of pressure. He's the healthiest quarterback in camp. All right, healthiest quarterback in camp, coming off the injury. I think Trey Lance takes that adversity and smacks it in the face. I think Brock Purdy does it too. It's just that he's coming off that elbow injury, and it's just a little risque for me.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know what we're going to see. I personally, if you said, okay, make a prediction on what we're going to see in camp, I think the Niner quarterbacks are all going to play well. I really do. I think Purdy, based on what I've heard, it sounds like he'll be ready to roll.
That's what
and
it sounds
that he'll
like.
be playing. And I think that, just from, how complicated Kyle's offense is and how Matt Ryan improved from year 1 to year 2, I think Brock could improve dramatically from year 1 to year 2. And we all know he was pretty good in year 1. So I think if he's healthy, and to me, it's all about health and arm strength. If he's healthy and he doesn't have diminished arm strength, I think Brock hits the ground running. But I also think Trey Lance plays much better, as I've already stated. I think Trey's going to play really well because I've seen it already in minicamp. He looks more comfortable, and I think overall, that's really there's a lot that goes into looking more comfortable. But mechanics, and I believe Christensen. When he says, "Hey, you're going to see a much improved Trey Lance this summer." I also think Sam Darnold is going to play well. Why? Because I think Sam Darnold understands his personal reality, which is if he fails here, he's probably done as an NFL starting quarterback. So there's urgency on Darnold's part to, basically save his career. He's on the path to you're a bust, and he's well down that path. If he doesn't fire this summer in the Niner camp, then it's almost stamped official that he's a bust. So I really expect him to play well, and I expect Brandon Allen to play pretty well as well, just because, I think in a lot of ways the Niner offense, where you've got lots of options, short and intermediate, really suits him because he doesn't have a big arm, and he's athletic, and he can throw the underneath stuff, and there's an awful lot of underneath options inside this offense. So I expect the Niner quarterbacks to all play well this summer. One chat here from M. Patel. He says, Larry, in February, 49ers will trade Trey. Larry, in July, Trey is going to be awesome. Yeah, those things are not mutually exclusive, as you can tell by just reading them there. I did predict in February that the 49ers would trade Trey because I was just reading the tea leaves, and it really sounded that way. It didn't happen, but it didn't mean that they weren't trying to trade him. It just means that they didn't trade him. I don't know if they were trying to trade him or not. I really don't know at this point. But yeah, I made that prediction and I was wrong. And I'm making this prediction that he's going to be very, very good. And we'll see. Maybe I'll be right. Maybe I'll be wrong. But I do think what you're going to see is an improved play from Trey Lance. Now, there's an interesting article I read today on one of the 49er websites. And it was a quote. It was an article about Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated. And a reader was asking Albert Breer which 49er players might be future cap casualties once they give Bosa his record-setting deal, once they give Brandon Ayuk an extension. And then he goes down and basically lays out the Niner 2024 cap situation. He's got 9 players. The Niners have 9 players, according to Breer, set to account for $190 million against the cap in 2024. And that includes Debo at $28.5 million. Right on down the list, Trent Williams at 28, Armstead at 25.8, Fred Warner at 24.4. It goes right on down the line. George Kittle, Mooney Ward, Javon Hargrave, 15.5, Christian McCaffrey, 14.1. And they're estimating Brandon Ayuk at 14.1 as well. So then he goes on to talk about, well, who could be a cap casualty? And he throws out Kyle Juszczyk, Dre Greenlaw, and Trey Lance. And he says a Lance trade, if he has a strong preseason this year, could create some breathing room. Then he goes on to say having Warner and Greenlaw as off-ball linebackers could be a luxury. So maybe Greenlaw's another guy that could be offloaded. And then he goes on to say if McCaffrey shows his age or gets hurt again, it's possible he could be on the chopping block. And then he mentions how Kyle Juszczyk is set to count for $7.6 million against the cap in each of 2024 and the 2025 seasons. And then he also accounts for the fact that, it's the cap in the NFL, which it's fluid. And he says the Niners could certainly get creative, as they've done in the past, and they can extend certain players and push their salary cap hits into future seasons. However, even with a rising salary cap from year to year, you can only do so much of that before it catches up to you. So that's interesting. I don't think they would cut Greenlaw. I think Juszczyk.
I do, Larry.
You think Greenlaw could be in the
I think
crosshairs?
He becomes the cap casualty. What's that? $9 million, $10 million. Listen, look.
They got other guys.
There you go. Just watch the way they draft. I was gonna say, I love them too. But who did they draft this past draft? And D. Winters, who resembles Dre Greenlaw. Like just look at what the 49ers do for the future to kind of let you know. They did the same thing with Jack Cletto, undrafted guy, right? Undrafted guy who could play fullback, he could play multiple positions, right? Now, if he comes in and he has the brain capacity to actually work in this 49ers offense, not saying he'll make that 53, but if he's on the practice squad and he sticks around, Juice could be the other cap casualties. So those are my 2 cap casualties. I don't think they would move on from Debo or Kittle, but those are some expensive ass contracts. I don't think they would cut those 2 guys as of yet.
They do have Ayuk, though. I know that's the thing. It's like, can you? Here's the thing too. Debo, makes a lot of money, and he was disgusted with the way he played last year. He says he's vowing to have a bounce back year, like he needed one. He was damn good last year. And then Brandon Ayuk says he's about to take off. And a lot of people believe that Ayuk is about to take off. I don't know. I mean, if you give me that list and say, okay, you got to cut a couple guys out of Debo, Trent, Armstead, Warner, Kittle, Charvarius, Hargrave, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Lance,
Charvarius
Greenlaw,
is another one.
And Juice. I would probably say, if it was me, I'd probably cut Juice and Armstead.
I don't see them cutting Armstead.
I don't either, but
I feel like
I don't see him cutting any of these guys, really.
Well, I know, but I just feel like he retires a 49er. But go back to Mooney Ward. Now, this ain't me. Trust me, I don't want this to happen, but we talk about cap casualties. We're talking about guys who the 49ers can kind of let go because they're going to cost against the cap next season. Look, guess who just got put on the PUP? And they might try to stash and save this kid. I think Deamadre Lenore rises up to a number 1. I think next year you got Terrell Luter Jr. who can play outside. And so
maybe Mooney Ward.
Don't they sound like the same type press man? I ain't letting
bigger
you complete
guy.
Bigger body. I mean, I'm just saying, this is what the Niners do. So, it's no love loss. It's the business side, and I hate it. But I think Mooney Ward, Kyle Juszczyk, I hate saying any of these players' names. I'm sorry. And who's the other person? And Dre Greenlaw. I think those will be the cap casualties going into next year. If there are any, 49ers can still refigure out these contracts.
You can kick this can down the road if you want.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly. If you want for a year.
It all depends on how
and maybe
those other guys develop too. Like, are those guys developing? Are they ready to step up into that role? You know what I'm saying? The 49ers are set up to where they don't have to rush anything. They don't have to rush progress. They don't have to rush, guys developing. They don't mind kicking money down the road if they feel you're an addition to the championship team, caliber team.
So the elephant in the room on this Breer article is this line. A Lance trade, if he has a strong preseason this year, could create some breathing room.
I like that line, though.
Now, let's talk about that, because I think most of us, I mean, this is in some ways, this is like the most frustrating story of all time, right? Because we were all so invested in Trey, and now, Brock's come of age and looks great. But I think many of us are still like, hey, you know what? We still believe in Trey. And I'm in that camp, and I think he's going to play well. And now he's worked with Christensen, and now he's worked with Mahomes, and now he had a really good offseason, and he's 3 years in. I'm looking at it as Trey. I think if you say predict this thing, I'm going to say Trey plays well enough where the Niners move Darnold and keep Trey. That would be my prediction. Why am I predicting that? Because I just don't believe, when you look at the money, Breezy. Okay, so I realize you got Purdy making $840,000, right?
That's $10 million, Larry.
What's that?
That's $10 million.
No, I'm talking about this year. This year, though.
Oh, this year. I'm talking about next year. I thought we were talking about next year. Okay.
You got 4 quarterbacks this year, right?
Correct.
And they signed Brandon Allen to a 1-year deal for a little bit over $1 million. It's $1,080,000. So that's what and if you go look at third-string quarterbacks around the NFL, they make about $1 million. So in a lot of ways, I kind of feel like this we've grouped this or framed this summer quarterback thing as it's Brock versus Trey. I get the sense by listening to the 49ers that Brock is their number 1, and that looking at the financials, that Brandon Allen is their number 3, and that really you've got $9 million cap hit Trey Lance and $5 million cap hit Sam Darnold. I think competing to be the backup to Brock Purdy to start the year. Maybe even to start the year as the starter, but eventually when Brock comes back, to back up Brock. We'll see how that all shakes out, of course. But I don't know that I see a world where Brock starts, Trey's number 2, and Darnold's number 3, and the Niners are spending $14 million on their backup quarterbacks when other teams in the league are spending $2 million, $3 million, $4 million. And the Niners are going to spend $14 million with all these cap crunches coming up in the year, and you can roll over the cap figure. Are you really going to want to roll with Sam Darnold as your 12th highest paid cap figure on the team, as your number 3 quarterback, if what I think is going to happen happens and Trey Lance beats out Sam Darnold? Are you really going to go with Sam Darnold and maybe cut a Greenlaw next year because you don't have cap room, where you could go with Brandon Allen as your number 3 and maybe keep Greenlaw next year? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm going with this, Breezy?
Yeah, I do. But there's so many different things. Larry, what I want you to do is go to settings again on StreamYard and click on audio and make sure it says the Shure mic, because they're saying it sounds like you're on your computer mic.
All right.
So we'll do that real quick.
Thank you for helping me on this. So let me see.
Of course.
Okay, my mic. You're right. You're right.
So you were on your computer mic. So
hold on. Wait a second.
Click on the Shure. Whatever this is called.
How's that?
Perfect.
How's that? Now I've got the 3 Shure MV7 mic.
There you go.
And I've got the speaker. Yep, I got the whole thing. We're all
right. Now you're
all
good.
rolling.
Sorry about that. All right. So all right. So
can you guys now hear me?
They should be able to hear you now. Finally, there it is.
Sorry. I apologize to everybody. I've been out of my studio for a week. I've only live streamed like one time in the last 12 days. And you know what? I started hitting buttons today, and oh my goodness. So here we go. Finally. Here we go. Yao Feel Me says, finally. Good now. Car God says it's the same.
There it is.
It's not the same. All right. So let's say, okay, now Alec Parker saying, actually, would you mind going back to your computer speaker? Stop. Don't try to screw with me, Alec. I see
I
that.
love it. I love
Vicky,
the
who I can
chat.
trust. Vicky, who I can trust, is yes. Sounds much better, Larry. All right.
I love it.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Breezy.
So here's the thing, right? Like, I mean, Albert Breer wrote the article, and then he put the speculation of possibly moving on or trading Trey Lance next season because of him costing about almost $11 million towards the cap. But I feel like that's all going to come down to Trey Lance, right? I feel like if Trey Lance balls out, right, and a team calls you and they're willing to give you some stuff, right? I mean, some stuff that's worth thinking about moving on from him next year. See, this year it didn't make sense, but next year, now we're talking cap. Now it kind of makes sense because I don't want to get rid of. Let me ask you this question: Trey Lance or Dre Greenlaw? Trey Lance or Mooney Ward? Trey Lance or Deebo Samuel? You get where I'm going with this?
Like, I think what you're ultimately saying too is that by this point next year, by July 19th of 2024, we won't have both Brock Purdy and Trey Lance on the 49ers. They'll have to make a decision at that point.
Well,
right?
because Brock is costing $1 and Trey Lance is costing $10. And if Trey Lance isn't the one playing, why keep them both? Like, why pay for the premium kid that's not even going to get on the field, especially if you can get something back? Now, I don't want to trade Trey Lance because I think he's going to beat out whoever he needs to beat out. So he's going to be the guy. If Trey Lance becomes the guy again, then this is a different conversation. Now you're paying your backup quarterback, which is Brock Purdy, the cheaper amount of money, and now you look good. I don't even understand the Sam Darnold signing. I just feel like he's better than Josh Johnson. But there's a possibility that Brandon Allen and Camp beats out Sam Darnold.
It was a hedge. It was a hedge, right? The Darnold signing was a hedge. It was either a hedge on Brock's elbow, a hedge on Trey's development.
That's it.
A hedge on, or it was just like, it was also could be scar tissue. You know, we all got a little scar tissue from watching the final 3 quarters of the NFC Championship game. And I don't know about you, but I turned off that TV going, this cannot happen again. And so maybe Sam Darnold is here for that reason. The other thing that, one of the main reasons I thought the Niners were going to consider moving Trey is because I looked at Sam Darnold being here as they wanted him. But it's very possible that he just looked at their situation and said, I want you. I want you, and I'll go there. And he might have approached them. I don't know. It was early on, man. It was before free agency even started. So it's possible that Sam Darnold looks at his own NFL mortality and said, look, if I'm going to go down, I want to go down in a Kyle Shanahan offense with all these good weapons. And I've been on bad teams, and I've been on teams that have no receivers and no O-line. Get me to San Francisco, and I'll show what I got. Maybe Darnold being here is all more about Darnold's pursuit of them than their pursuit of him.
Yeah, I understand the Sam Darnold thing, but again, will he get the opportunity to show what he can do? I think it's going to take something to happen for him to get in. Like I don't think he beats out any quarterback except, and like I said, there's a possibility Brandon Allen might look better. We saw this happen. We watched Brock Purdy beat out. Oh my gosh, why I'm drawing a blank. And they gave him guaranteed money.
Nate Sudfeld.
Nate Sudfeld, right? We watched Brock. They went with Brock over Nate Sudfeld and gave Nate his little $2 million and called it a day. And remember, Sam Darnold's contract is relatively cheap, but then it can be worth up to stuff based on incentives. I don't think the 49ers plan on paying him. Like, you hear what I'm saying? Like, he has to play to get paid. It's for me. In this situation, I feel like it's not a bad situation for the 49ers. I feel like it's a win-win. No, you could win with Brock.
They're
deep. Right. Now you're deep at the quarterback position, and it's way better, right? It's so the depth. I think the key to the 49ers is depth, but the right depth. And I think now that the 49ers have 3 quarterbacks that are capable of winning games in the NFL, they've all had starting quarterback experience, some more than others. I feel like Sam Darnold being the most tenured out of the quarterbacks, I think the 49ers are confident in that quarterback's room. And I think the room itself is light years better than the room last year, even with Jimmy Garoppolo there, because we were just waiting for Jimmy to get injured. We knew that was going to happen. We were just waiting. We were praying that it didn't. But you knew, you had an inkling from his record, his rap sheet, that at some point something was going to go down with Jimmy Garoppolo, which opened the doors for Brock Purdy. And we watched Brock Purdy again have an amazing season, right? Came in, said, "Don't worry, team, I'm going to put you on my back. Let's go." Everybody upgraded, like everybody. And it was so cool, right? And the thing I love the most about Brock is just his ability to get the ball out of his hands quick. That's what we were seeing from Jimmy. And luckily, Brock didn't tear his Achilles like Jimmy did, because after Jimmy tore, not Achilles, ACL, after Jimmy messed that ACL up, he was never the same. This is a little elbow thing. I feel like Brock's going to be fixed. He can still dump the ball off. I ain't worried about him throwing it deep. Brock is the most efficient quarterback that the 49ers have had in a long time. It's just that I want him to make sure he can make all those throws, like all the throws in practices, without any discomfort before they put him out there against the Wolves.
Well, I don't want to see him. I just don't want to see them rush him back. And I'm pretty confident that they're not going to, because they know that this kid's career hangs in the balance. So they're not going to force him out there in week 1 to make some statement if he's not physically right. And I think they're going to do what's best for him. Now, what does that mean exactly? I don't know. We're going to find out in a very short amount of time, it sounds like, what he's looking like, and if he's diminished at all arm strength wise, if he's having any kind of arm fatigue, if there's been any impact whatsoever, negative impact that is, on his elbow due to the surgery, where, there's nowhere to hide him when it comes down time for camp. It's all out there for everybody to see. 187 says we need all 4 quarterbacks. That's I understand that idea, but that ain't happening. And all you got to do is follow the money on this thing. Last year, first of all, the NFL minimum is $750,000. Okay. Mm-hmm. Last year, Brandon Allen made, I think, right around $1 million to be the backup to Joe Burrow, to be the number 2 in Cincinnati. If Brandon Allen's either going to be the 3rd string quarterback on the 49ers, or he's going to be on another team. Why? Because if you're on the practice squad, you're going to make $207,000. Brandon Allen may like to be a 49er, and he may really like to be in Kyle Shanahan's offense. But I guarantee you he's not telling his wife, "Hey, honey, we're taking an $830,000 pay cut so I can be on the Niner practice squad this year." I don't buy that at all. I think he's got a contract that's negotiated for the 3rd string job. If he'll either make the roster as the 3rd string quarterback, or he'll get cut, and then somebody else around the league, since he was number 2 in Cincinnati, will sign him to be number 2 or number 3 there. And the average number 3 quarterback in the NFL is making roughly $1 million. So I think he came to the Niners. Somebody probably said to him, "Hey, look, there's opportunity here potentially." And I think there's a chance he could beat out Sam Darnold for that number 3 job. I think they could look comparable, and that the Niners, for cap reasons, move Darnold, go with Brandon Allen. But the idea that the Niners will have Brock and Trey and Sam and Brandon Allen making $207,000 on the practice squad, it's not happening. He will call for his own release at the end of camp, before he would play on the Niner practice squad. He's just not going to do it. And so it makes sense. Like, it makes sense for why he came here, because it's like, hey, you know what? I want a chance to play with the 49ers and be in this offense. But he knows he's either going to make it as the number 3, or he's going to get cut, go through waivers, and I think probably somebody will pick him up, because the Niners signed him to a deal for $1,080,000, which is right on par with what 3rd string quarterbacks in the NFL make. And I think that, he'll be making $1 million as somebody else's 3rd string or number 2 if he doesn't make the Niners as their number 3. But the idea of having all 4, I know it's like, people are like, why don't we have 5? Why don't we have 6? Because the rules kind of force you not to. That's really the answer to that.
Look, when it comes down to those quarterbacks, may the best man win. I mean, I think that's what it is. It's competition. If Brock is healthy, he's good to go. He'll be starting. I personally want to see Trey Lance get some experience out there and start, but it's all going to come down to the health of Brock Purdy. I really do. But Trey Lance might come into camp this year and just blow everybody out the water.
I think there's a good chance of that. I think there's a very good chance that the Trey that we see this summer, is ready to roll. And I think that I've maintained, Breezy, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I was asking Grant and I asked Jesse the same question. Do the Niners have a franchise quarterback, no franchise quarterback, or two franchise quarterbacks? And I'm going with two. And they said they would go, if it had to be two or none, they're going with none. And I understand that because Trey's unproven. Brock's done it for 1 year. There's people that question the sustainability of what Brock's done. So I get the answer. To me, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just your perspective. Jesse and Grant's perspective was that the Niners have no franchise quarterback, that Trey ain't their franchise quarterback, that Brock's not their franchise quarterback, that they have zero franchise quarterbacks. I see it the other way. Maybe I'm a glass half full guy, but I see Brock as what he's doing as sustainable and real. But I also see the criticism of Trey being, poor, misdirected. And I think people are impatient because we're in an impatient world. I think he's very much the player that they thought they were getting when they drafted him. And I think it's all going to come out this summer. I think they got two franchise quarterbacks. And I hope that they understand that and are willing to pay the salary price to have them both going forward. Because even if Trey has a good camp, I don't think that he will have built up that trade value. Even if Brock, you know what I mean? I think he's going to have to play and show it in NFL regular season games before somebody's going to actually recognize, hey, wait a second, this guy's not a bust. This guy's not just a middle of the road. This guy's a really good young NFL quarterback prospect, and if we want him, we got to pony up a whole lot more in a trade offer. So I'm in the camp that says they got two franchise quarterbacks. I just feel like it's gonna, we haven't seen it quite yet, but I really believe it's coming. Give me your perspective on that.
I see it the same way you see it.
Okay.
I think both quarterbacks have the opportunity of being franchise quarterbacks in this system, right? In this system. And, what Brock, like I said, what Brock Purdy did for this team and what he plans to do for this team, I'm hoping it continues to be amazing. Like, Brock took that playbook and ran it damn near to perfection, right? Damn near perfection. The only reason why we probably didn't see perfection from Brock Purdy, I'm not saying he was perfect on every throw. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I hear you.
He won. He was winning games, right? But it was because of the injury. The kid goes down. There's nothing much you can do. We have zero quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. Don't want to rehash that, right? But Trey Lance has the potential of being a franchise quarterback as well. Will he get the opportunity? I don't know. I can't answer that. I would love to see him get the opportunity. I don't know if it's going to be in San Francisco. And then what's going to happen is if Trey Lance is traded for a buku amount of stuff, because that's the only way I'm really trying to move on from him. If you can get some stuff back, then you move on and you put everything into Brock and you watch Brock soar off into that franchise world. But if he's not traded, look, Kyle Shanahan could change the game. Working, I know people don't like having two quarterbacks because that means you have none, or that old saying or whatever. I don't know what Kyle's plan is for 2023. All I know is Brock Purdy is here, Trey Lance is here, Sam Darnold is here, and I'm a question mark over the Brandon Allen because there's a possibility if Sam Darnold fumbles the ball multiple times in training camp, his ass should be gone. You can't fumble in camp. You know what I mean? So that's always been his issue, turning over the ball. So maybe Brandon Allen soars past him. They give him his guaranteed, and they move on from Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold will probably clear waivers and end up on somebody's practice squad.
First of all, I saw this stat as I was prepping for the season. Take away the 2019 season. Outside of 2019, the Niners, Breezy, have gone 6 consecutive years where they've used 3 quarterbacks.
Only team in the league, huh?
6 years outside of 2019 where they've used 3 quarterbacks. So one, I think it's smart to have a group of them. I'd rather be too deep than too thin there. And if I have to make a prediction sitting here on July the 19th of what we're going to see this summer, I'm going to say Purdy's healthy and balls out.
Good.
Trey's healthy and
balls out.
and is more comfortable and balls out. Sam Darnold plays like Sam Darnold, some good, some bad. Brandon Allen plays a little bit less than that. Doesn't kind of underwhelming, but some good, some bad. And then at the end of camp, it's Purdy, Lance, and Allen, and Sam Darnold gets traded. That would be my guess. Because I think there's teams around the NFL, like Jordan Love in Green Bay. Green Bay's number 2 is Sean Clifford, the Penn State quarterback. Sam Darnold is a much better talent than Sean Clifford. And Danny Etling, I think, is their 3rd quarterback. So Green Bay, I think, might have some interest in Darnold. We'll see how it all shakes out. There's a lot, obviously, that has to go down between now and then. Give me another. Let's get into Luter for a second. This story came out yesterday. Terrell Luter Jr. placed on the PUP list. Physically unable to perform is what PUP stands for. And we don't know what the injury is. Do you have any idea why he was placed on the PUP list?
I caught the way Kyle Shanahan works is they get the talent, they figure out where they can kind of like retro. I mean, you see this for rookies, right? Like, ask yourself this question: how many rookies really now, especially now, like not when during their first tenure, when we actually needed those guys to play football, but how many rookies really see the field their rookie season? And so, like, this could just be one of them things where there's an injury and they're going to put them on the PUP for the next several weeks, and then they're going to monitor it, and then there's a possibility that I don't know. Don't they got to add another person to the squad if he's on the PUP?
Well, they have an extra roster spot on their 90-man camp roster if they want to add somebody.
But they don't have to.
It's non-football injury list.
Right.
So, he can be activated from that list at any time. It's not like, there's a certain number of weeks. Whenever he's ready to roll, he's ready to roll. I think this really opens up an opportunity for 2 guys.
Yes.
Ambry Thomas.
Yes, sir.
And I think Deshaun Jameson. Now, Samuel Womack looked awesome in the mini camp. I mean, really, really good.
Inside or outside, Larry?
I think outside. But I mean, I think he can play both.
That's where he belongs. He belongs.
But Womack to me was looking like operating at a different speed. I mean, he really stood out, kind of the way that Christian McCaffrey really stood out on the offensive side. There were a couple guys on the defensive side that really stood out to me, and he was one of them. So I think this helps Womack. This helps Ambry Thomas. This helps Deshaun Jameson. This might help Miles Hartsfield. I think all those guys potentially could have been right there on the bubble. Not Womack, he was going to make the team, but Ambry Thomas, Deshaun Jameson, Miles Hartsfield, these guys were kind of on the bubble of making it or not making it. And if Luter has to go for any extended period of time on that PUP list, I think that really helps these guys. The one thing I do like about the Niners corners coming into this year, I like the depth. I mean, you got Lenore, Mooney Ward, and Isaiah Oliver are your starters.
Those are your starters, yeah.
Those are your starters, but then I want to have 6 corners on the roster, and you got Luter, and you got Womack, and you got Hartsfield, so that would be 6 right there, and that doesn't take into account Ambry or Jameson. Jameson looked terrific in the OTAs. Jameson, I think, makes the team. I think Jameson's really solid.
Special teams.
He's a good return man too.
There you go.
Excellent returner.
Words right out of my mouth.
They're deep on the corner, and so if there's, I mean, I'm not saying, the old coach used to say the key to pass coverage is pass coverage. In other words, there is no key to pass coverage. You got to have guys. You got to have dudes, and so I always like having depth at corner because when you run out of guys, it's time to call Brian Allen, and you remember how that went a couple years ago when Ryan Fitzpatrick broke the huddle, and he's like, all right, where's Brian Allen? Oh, he's over there. He's like literally pointing at the guy, and then he kept completing passes on him. Do you remember that day?
Yes,
when Miami came to Levi's and pulled the upset?
I do.
And they just targeted Brian Allen all day.
To be fair, he didn't practice.
Signed on Wednesday.
They signed, and if you really want to add the context to the story, it was all stimulated around the injury to Akella Witherspoon, who said he was injured, but then he said he was able to play. And it was so weird. That was weird. That was weird.
He's had a very weird career. You saw he got bounced around a couple times.
He's now on Arizona. He went to one of the NFC West
Rams.
The Rams
might be Rams. He was he was in Pittsburgh.
Good. Target him if he makes the team, please.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, to me, it's never good news to see before camp even gets rolling somebody on the PUP list. But the thing you can say is they're pretty deep at corner now.
They're deep at corner. Crazy thing is the injury had to happen during minicamp, because if not, he would have been on the NFI list because he wasn't injured going into camp, right? So he's on the PUP. So the language is important, right? Because remember, Kalia Davis was injured during college. Therefore, he was on the NFI, which is the PUP for not getting injured in football, like in the NFL. Then the PUP is when you get injured during NFL time. So he must have got injured during the camp, the mini camp, the rookie, whatever. Something happened. So they say.
Luckily, they've got some depth there, and they can withstand this early, but that's going to be a position to watch for. There's a guy who wrote an article, I think it was on Bleacher Report today, 49er players who need to be impressive in training camp to avoid being cut. That's the thing about training camp. Some guys are out there.
Is number one on my list.
Yeah, I mean, that's the weird thing about camp and about the preseason. Some guys are out there just tuning it up, man. I'm just getting it tuned up. Other guys are like, this might as well be Super Bowl freaking Sunday, because
that's the mentality you need.
My job is on the line, and my ability to provide for my family is on the line. And so you see guys playing like it's the Super Bowl in the preseason, and you got other guys who are kind of like, hey man, I'm just trying to shake off the rust. So it's kind of a dangerous time for some players, because man, you can't, the old saying, there's no easing into a street fight. Well, there's no easing into a NFL roster, into an NFL game of any note, even in the preseason. So you better strap it on and be ready to roll. But who would you put in that category? I'll give you the guys that they have.
Okay.
They've got down here Ty Davis Price, who was last year's third-round draft choice. He's got a very deep offensive backfield to battle. You got, the Niners are going to keep Juice, the fullback, and they've got McCaffrey and Elijah and Jordan Mason.
They go with
TDP, Ronald Awatt, Kalen Laburn, and all those guys can play, man. I mean, I'm telling you, you're really going to love Laburn and Awatt.
Oh, I love Laburn. Like that, he's my circle player.
Him.
Yeah, like there's a possibility that he beats out one of these guys. Yep.
300 plus carries this year.
A different type of runner than Jordan Mason. I know Jordan Mason has a lot of power too, more north-south guy, but Laburn has the burst. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the thing that Tom Mason lacks is that burst, but he can.
He's lighter this year though, Breezy. You gotta wait till you see
bring
Mason.
Him down. As long as he stays strong up top, like I'm good. Like if you can't bring him down, that's good. He's a tough runner. But TDP can, like, he looks good too.
He did. He looked good in the minicamp. He looked fast.
Oh my gosh, he's fat. His cutting ability. Oh my gosh, like this is gonna be. I told you the battles are gonna be crazy. The running backs room, cornerbacks, wide receivers, like 85 of them. Like the tight end battle is gonna be crazy. Oh my. Offensive line is going to be crazy. I mean, we know Trent Williams, but there's going to be some battles. I'm excited. I'm excited.
It's if you like good football competition, man, this camp is going to provide a ton. But TDP is one of the guys they have listed here. They also have Ross Dwelly and Charlie Werner listed here. Yeah, this is interesting too because the Niners. We all turned off the TV last year going, Tyler Kroft, you know what I mean?
One play.
And I definitely think the Niners went into the draft saying, we got to upgrade the tight end spot. Here's another amazing stat from last year. I couldn't believe it when I looked it up. Guess how many catches 49er tight ends not named George Kittle had last year?
In the teens, maybe?
7.
I didn't even make 10.
7 catches
They're
outside
not,
of Kittle from non-Kittle
okay.
tight ends for the Niners. 7.
All right. Well,
that's a ridiculously low number.
It's ridiculous, but like how is Ross Dwelly now on the football field? He has some of the best hands in football.
Very dependable
Soft
receiver.
Hands. You throw it somewhere near his vicinity, he comes down with it. He's probably the second best. He probably has. I think I went on camera and said I think Ross Dwelly has better hands than George Kittle. George Kittle dropped the ball a lot, but he also gets more targets. But Ross Dwelly has really nice hands. He can't block. He can't. It's something that's keeping him off the football field.
Dwelly's not a blocker. He's kind of like a jumbo receiver, but he's a really dependable special teams guy. Warner's not a power blocker. Like Latu's got more power in the lower body. I think he can actually move people on the line of scrimmage. Warner's kind of like that guy that locks on you and doesn't let go, and he just keeps the legs churning. He's a good try-hard blocker. He's a good second-level blocker. He can pick off an athlete in space, but he doesn't give you much as a receiver. I just think that Cameron Latu, because he was a third-round pick, because he's got, he's a stud, man. If you watch Latu, he's 6'4", 6'5". He's got a really big athletic body. And then
really
Braden Willis. Braden Willis, I think, is going to be the number 2 tight end. I think Warner and Dwelly might be on the – unless they keep more than 3 tight ends, and I can't see them doing it with 3 quarterbacks and 10 D linemen and all these receivers and all these backs. And, I just can't think they're – I think they're going to keep 3 tight ends, and I think they're going to keep Kittle, Willis, and Latu. And I think both Dwelly and Warner get cut.
I think, even though those 2 guys are rookies, you upgrade at the tight end position, especially from a pass catching perspective. You want other options for your quarterbacks to go. You could come up there in different types of personnel too, like, you know what I'm saying? So having like 3 tight ends out there on the goal line that can be some type of pass catching option, like that's scary, right? You can even line Willis up in the backfield. He's still accounted for a tight end, and then split out Christian McCaffrey or Jordan. Like there's so many options that Kyle Shanahan can utilize with better talent at the positions. I'm agreeing with you. I think that he goes with the 2 rookies. I really do. But I think Dwelly will be cut and then put on the practice squad. And then you have a serviceable guy because he can also spell and play fullback, right? If you need him. And so
but Willis can too. And there's something about Willis that's really impressive too. He reminds me a lot of Jawan Jennings in that he runs across the middle of the field with zero fear. I mean, he's not worried about getting starched by a linebacker or a safety, and maybe he should have more appropriate fear. But Willis, to me, is a very likable player. A couple last ones before we cut this off. Callie Young says, Wayne, Ronnie Bell, or Tay Martin. What do you think of this one? We saw that film of
Trey Lance
of big play Tay catching balls from Lance at TCU, and everybody's focusing on Lance. But I was kind of focusing a little bit on Tay, and Tay looks great.
He does, but Bell can
he's not
play.
fast.
But Bell's not that fast either, but Bell's football fast. He's 4.5. He ran 4.5, but on the field, he doesn't play like a 4.5 guy. And Ronnie Bell can line up in the slot. He can line up outside. He can return. I mean, you got to go with the guy that can do more. At the end of the day,
Patel says Croc says Tay can't separate. Croc's right, but I will say this: Tay's 6'3" with long arms.
He's a bigger target. But how many of our quarterbacks are throwing the ball up in the air for the guys to go out and go get them, though? So like, it's more about getting the ball, catching it in space, guys getting open, and boom, they take off. That's Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell.
Are you a Michigan guy, Breezy?
I'm a Michigan guy.
Cupcake says Breezy's a Michigan guy.
I'm a Michigan guy.
Well,
but I watched Bell do it.
I'm with you on Bell. I'm with you on Bell.
Take deep passes down the field from no non-name quarterbacks. Like the kid, he struggles getting open too. So don't get it twisted. But I think that will come in his his football regime in the NFL. I think it'll definitely come. He's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. So it's going to happen. College is a little different. You can always get open in college. It's not that hard.
I'll say this though: the one thing that I read about Bell that was like, whoa, that's the eye opener, was when I'm doing the deep dive after the draft. I was going into Dane Brugler's breakdown, and Brugler for The Athletic, former NFL scout. This guy's really, really good. I mean, he's got the guy got a C- in geography. As a sophomore in high school. I mean, the guy's just got every freaking detail. The thing that made my eyes open was that Ronnie Bell's dad is a football coach. Okay, so that always makes me think, okay, that means football's important to him, because if your dad's a coach, that you're at the dinner table, hey dad, pass the salt, what'd you think of that out route? You know what I mean? It's like you're in that mode all the time when your dad's a coach. But then I read more. His dad is a current college football wide receiver coach. That's why Ronnie Bell looks like Ronnie Bell. That's why Ronnie Bell looks like a 5-year veteran, because he essentially is. His dad coaches the position. I think it's like either Central Illinois or Eastern Illinois, or it's some smaller college. But when your dad is a football coach, you know the sport. But when your dad is a football coach, a wide receiver coach, now you've got a level of knowledge and attention to detail that's far greater. So I think Ronnie Bell, Tay Martin, and Jawan Jennings is going to be an incredible battle. And I think only one of those guys makes the team. Jennings obviously has made some big catches in Niner history. Yeah. So you got to give him the advantage. But man, after watching Ronnie Bell in the OTAs, he kept catching balls, Breezy, in a crowd. Never bothered him. He plucks it with his hands. He's not going to separate a ton, but man,
that's what I was
saying.
His
ball skills are nice.
His separation is, but if his separation is iffy, but I think he can learn that, right? That's technique, right? It's not his speed. It's just it's his get off. It's the way he's getting out of his breaks. He's dealing with bigger guys, press guys. But I tell you what, you go ahead and play off of him if you want to. Like, that's where he excels. And so, like, he can be a problem. I actually feel like the Niners are going to take 6 wide receivers, and he'll be the 6th. So,
okay,
if you have him taking 5, then I see where you're going with this, because I still think Ray makes the squad. But I feel like Bell is that replacement. This is Ray's last year in his contract, and this is where Bell comes in and takes that spot, right? Kid that can run kickoffs, a kid that can play wide receiver, a kid that can line up in the backfield. It's Ronnie Bell all over again. And I think Ronnie Bell just has better. He doesn't turn over the ball. That's something that I know 49er fans covet, right? You don't want the guy. He doesn't turn over the ball. That's something that we kind of squinge when Ray gets the ball, because he has the fumbling issues. So there's a possibility that they take 6. It's going to be interesting.
LAL says Krug, Breezy, and Chapman all together would be like Scooby-Doo meeting Don Knotts. LOL. Hopefully that's not a rip. No.
I don't know what that is, but it's funny.
Breezy, we'll let you go and get back to the deck, but give me on the way out the door, give me 1 or 2 players that, because let's be honest, we wouldn't do this. We wouldn't do this Niner content creation if we weren't jacked and fired up to watch this stuff, right? Man. Come on, we're all fired up. We're all fired up. And we're going to be out there. I'm going to be out there reporting it back, and you're going to be chopping it up, and we're all going to be chopping it up with our fans and friends and talking Niner ball all season long. Give me 1 or 2 players that maybe we haven't discussed that, man, you're just fired up to see this summer.
Put a circle
who's fired up?
Danny Gray, okay?
Danny Gray,
Put a circle around Danny Gray on the offensive side. And on the defensive side, watch out for Marcelino McCreary Ball.
Good call.
Those are my 2 guys, man.
Those are 2 good calls. Marcelino, played a little bit of the mic.
Undrafted guy. Yeah.
And I saw him at a dinner about a month ago. He's jacked up. He's in great shape.
Did you see his boxing video lately? Oh my gosh, the kid is powerful. Yeah.
Really? He's throwing hands?
He's throwing haymakers. Yeah.
I like those two. I like those two. I'm going to go Spencer Wagee as the North Dakota State defensive tackle / defensive end. Watch out for him. And I'm going to say Jair Brown.
He's a given. Come on. Like, everybody's watching Jair Brown. Pick somebody else, Larry.
Okay.
You cheated.
Okay. Give me your quick thought on Jair Brown. Do you like Jair Brown?
Listen, at some point he's starting. I could tell you that right now. I mean, this season, this is not a shot at Tashawn Gibson. The 49ers are going to have options. They can run all kind of crazy defenses with this kid. I think you want to put your playmaker on the field. He's a playmaker. And if he has one responsibility, 9 times out of 10, he's making the play. Like, it's different when he has to play, free safety or if he's in the box and Hufanga's back there and he has so many different roles. But if they find the defense where they're going to play 3 safeties, which is going to be crazy, at one time, this kid will make plays. Let me just remind everybody out there, this is the thing that crushed me that I love so much about Tig, right? When you go back to his Penn State games, he led the team in tackles for loss with 15, yo. Like 15 tackles for loss from a safety. I wanted Jaquan Brisker the year before. He was better than Jaquan Brisker.
I'll tell you this, he's an impressive kid when you talk to him too. There's an intensity about Jair Brown. Like, he knows he's good. And every time there was a practice, the next practice he was a little bit better. A little bit better.
How many interceptions did he drop in minicamp?
Supposedly he had 5 or 6, 4 or 5.
And he dropped a few.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because he dropped 3 at Penn State and he led he dropped 2 at Penn State. He had 3. He should have had 5. He also led the team in interceptions from a safety position.
Okay, I'll go deeper dive than Jair Brown. Okay.
Go deeper dive.
So I like Spencer Wagee. I'm a big fan of Jalen Graham, the Purdue linebacker.
Oh, Purdue linebacker. 6'3".
Seriously, this kid, I was joking with Keena. I'm like, Keena, looks like a young Keena. Keena was laughing. But yeah, Jalen Graham's the real deal. And then I'll give you another one. I really think Brock Purdy's roommate, Nick Zakelj, if Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford, or Colton McKivitz aren't just totally buttoned up and on their game, Zakel's sitting right there. He's 6'6". He's about 320 pounds. He's nasty. He's smart. This guy's two-hand shiver. When you watch him in these blocking drills, I mean, he just rocks guys. Guys just, seriously, he's real, man. He's smart and he's tough, and it's year 2. And I think he's going to make an impact. I don't know. He's not slated to start. He's not even, he's not even guaranteed to make the roster. But I think Zakel's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm loving that you went with the trenches. I thought that was spot on. You went with the trenches.
Listen, you got to go with the big uglies.
A Fordham guy. He's a very smart guy. And he was the only lineman last year that was active on the 53 roster all year long. He didn't get used, but he made the team. There's something about this kid that they like. I don't know where they're going to play him. We'll find out training camp.
Isn't Fordham a business school in New York?
Business school in New York, baby. It's like second Ivy League tier. That's why I said that.
You got to be smart to go to Fordham, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, Breezy. Back to the deck.
Back to the deck, baby. Thanks for having me on,
thing. Hey, man, always love having you on. Do you like the nitty gritty Niner?
I do. That flag.
See how I got a prominent there. Over my left shoulder.
I see.
That came from you, bro. Thank you, man.
You, brother, man. Keep up the great work, Larry.
Breezy, beat the Heat in the East. Build that deck. We'll talk to you in a week, maybe.
All right, baby. Peace.
There you go. Wayne Breezy in the house. Good stuff. Breezy is fantastic. Love talking with Breezy. Couple other chats here, and then we'll get to the super chats, or we'll get to a couple more of your comments before we get out of here. I've already put that one up there. We got Jay Shaw says Krug foresaw Purdy's talent during camp last year. I believe in his prediction about Lance. Yeah, I really think Lance is getting ready for liftoff. If you're if you're one of those guys that loves to tweet every thought and doesn't like to be called on your stuff, you better go look at your Twitter and take down your anti-Lance comments, because he's coming. And I really believe that his work with Mahomes, his work with Christensen, It's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. I thought it was also interesting, guys, that you had Juszczyk went on with Haberman and Middlecoff, and he described Trey Lance as beloved in the room. And you know why he's beloved? Because there's nothing fake about the guy. There's no airs about him. He's not trying to be somebody he ain't. He's a real guy. He's hardworking. He's a great kid. This is another reason I was so all in on Trey Lance on the draft, because I really believe that when you have the physical and you have the mental and you have the character and football is important to you, it's just a matter of time. It's not rocket science. It can be figured out. It can be learned. Now, I'm not saying you're going to have all the nuances and intangibles of young Joe Montana, but it's also not one of these things that's so elusive. It's like, oh, he'll never get there. No. If you check all the boxes, you physically got the goods, mentally you got the goods, and football's important to you, and you got great character and work ethic, it's coming. It may take a year, may take 2, may take 3, but you're coming, and this kid's coming, and everybody's going to have to be on their game, or he's going to be the starting quarterback, and maybe that's a good thing. You could definitely make the argument that Trey's skill set is top shelf, but I really believe that when you look back at that draft, and you look at all these quarterbacks, there's going to be some that are going to be stars, some that are going to be busts, and everything in between. I don't know that he's going to be a star, but I do know that he's not going to be a bust. And there's an awful lot of people who are on record as saying, he's going to be a bust. No, he's not going to be a bust. He's not going to be a bust. He's going to be the biggest bust in the history of the league. No. Trust me when I say this, he's not going to be a bust. Michael says Larry was right on Brock, and he's right on Trey right now. The kid's going to be good, but he will be good. But will he be good enough to start? We shall see. Dude is different. I don't know if he's going to be ready to start right away. But I do think if you said to me, make a prediction on this year, I made it already, and I'll restate it. Brock is your 1. Trey's your 2. Darnold and Allen show some good things, some bad things. They go with Allen and trade Darnold. That would be my guess. I know there's a lot of people going, yeah, but Darnold fits their system perfectly and this and that. Okay, but you do have an awful big cap hurdle staring you in the face in 2024, and you got a ready-made third-string quarterback in Brandon Allen sitting there signed up for $1 million a year. You really going to give Sam Darnold the 12th highest cap figure on the entire team this year, and potentially next year be forced to make some really hard decisions on who's staying and who's going? Or do you trade him on to a Green Bay or another team at the cutdown and go with Purdy and Lance and Brandon Allen? If I got to make a prediction going into camp, that's my prediction right there. They go with Purdy and Lance and Brandon Allen and trade Sam Darnold. All right, let's do this. We got a couple sponsors we want to shout out to. Bottom of the screen, our new sponsor, Marin Auto Glass. Check them out online, marinautoglass.com. My good buddy Saeed, the owner of Marin Auto Glass. You crack a windshield, you're sitting there, dial them up, 415-883-3030. They'll pop out the old one, glaze in a new one, sweep away the glass, do it wherever you are, and it's a win-win. You can't beat Marin Auto Glass. Check them out, marinautoglass.com, 415-883-3030. We're also brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. 2 locations. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They did have limited hours in Emeryville for a while, but I just talked to Damon Stainbrook, the owner of Pig and a Pickle, the other night, and he says, you know what? We're back open 7 days a week in both locations. So 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. in both locations. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Here's what they look like in Marin. We're also brought to you by New York Style Italian Sausage, the best Italian sausage you're going to find. You can find it in any supermarket around Northern California. And here's a word from them.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York Style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York Style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
You see that wink from Pasquale, and you know it's New York Style Italian sausage. All right, we're coming down the home stretch. What'd you guys think of the new intro put together by my son? Here it is, once again, 10-second intro. We played this off the start. If you didn't see it, here we go. Courtesy of Kevin Krueger, the brand new intro to the show. What do you think? I like it, man. I like it. Kev, excellent job on that. We are closing in, guys, on a milestone. What can I say? I can't thank all you guys enough. We are sitting right now at 19,962 subs. We are, 38 subs away from 20,000. And I want to thank Len Dempsey. I'd like to thank my son, Kevin Krueger, my other son, Christopher Krueger, who's doing a lot of great stuff for us as well right now, and all of you guys. I also want to thank Grant Cohn, who was very encouraging to me early on in this process. Wouldn't probably be in this space if Grant hadn't kind of encouraged me to go in this direction. So I really do appreciate Grant quite a bit. I think I'll probably be sending him a bottle of wine here as we get to 20,000. But if you're one of the couple hundred that are in the chat right now, as we're an hour and 23 minutes in, and you've yet to hit like and subscribe, please do. If you hit like, that just helps the algorithm, more people, find the shows. And then if you hit subscribe and you click that notification bell every time we go live, you'll get a little notification on your phone. Of course, it's free to subscribe. Help us get to 20,000 subs. We are closing in now, 36 away from 20,000. And we tried at the end of the season, we said, hey, can we get to 20,000 subs before training camp? And we made that our goal. And I just, at the time, I think we might have been around maybe 11,000 or something like that. And I thought, man, I don't know, man. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to 20,000 subs by training camp. But training camp is 5 days away, and we are closing in on 20,000 subs. So, I mean, I got to thank each and every one of you individually, which will take time. But I just want to say thanks, because we couldn't get here without you. I've enjoyed this adventure, and that's really what it's been. It's been an adventure. I've enjoyed it immeasurably. 20,000 subs is something that I didn't think we would get to this quickly. And we're right there. And I'd love to take it to 35,000 by the end of football season, and 40 by the draft, and onward and upward, and just keep building this thing. We're going to produce a ton of great Niner content for you, interviews with the players, lots of camp breakdown. I'll be doing a review of every practice. I'll be at every single camp media session. So keep it locked here on the Krug Show throughout July, August, and throughout the season. We'll bring you as good a content as we possibly can come up with all season long. Davis says 20,000 is big. Yeah, 20,000 is big, and that's amazing to me. Gary Lamb, Main Events Mania, says, hit that goal, baby. There you go. Appreciate that. Derek says, new sub here. Just started checking out your streams. Appreciate you, man. 49er 55. Congratulations, Krug. Appreciate that. Thank you, 49er. Jimmy Kwan. Could be Jimmy Kwan, but it's Jimmy Kwan. He says, I'll be the 20,000 subscriber Pig in a Pickle. Yes, thanks to Damon Stainbrook and the good people at Pig in a Pickle for being the proud sponsor of the Krug Show. You know what? I mean, Hendricks, you're lazy. You're fucking lazy. Red and Gold says, one of the best 49er shows. One of the best. I'll go with that. Davis says, just hit the like. I've been subbed. All right. Greg Iscon says, how about Italian wine? An Italian wine. Maybe I'll send Grant a bottle of Chianti. What kind of wine should I send Grant? I'm going to send him a couple bottles. One for Grant, one for Pops. I got to send one to Lowell as well. 49er 55 says, Krug, we've seen you grow. Gary Lamb, congrats, Krug. You're part of the Bay Fam brother. Charlie Higgs, standing O. So there you go. 187 says, get it done. There you go. Somebody was talking about the intro. It fits. I like it, Krug. There we go. 49er 55 likes the open. Fire. Hendricks said fire. I like that. Davis says Costco has great sausage. That's right. You can find New York style Italian sausage at Costco. So thanks to everybody. SMH says, I wonder if Lowell would come on this show. Oh, he absolutely will. Lowell's a good man. We go way back. And he's a solid guy. And I told Grant this. I said, some of the stuff that you do with your Pops are some of my very favorite Cone Zone streams. I like when they get together and rap back and forth. That's always good stuff. All right, what do we have going the rest of the week? Well, we're not even done for the rest of the day. So let me tell you what we got going later on today as I peruse my schedule here. Raj from RSF 49ers is going to join me in 25 minutes. So I'm going to go in the house, get a little something to drink. Then I'm going to come back out. We're going to talk a little more Niner football with Raj at 4 o'clock. So join us in 25 minutes for me and Raj. Tomorrow's going to be a big day on the channel and a big day overall because at 2 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to go on David Lombardi's channel. I've never been on Dave's channel before, known Dave for years and years and years, but he invited me on tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So check me out tomorrow with Dave Lombardi on his channel at 2. And then tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we're going to have the second edition of the 49er Extravaganza with Vish Kumaran and Jesse Naylor. So me, Vish, and Jesse are going to do a Thursday night triumvirate show, which we did one the other day, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago, because I went to Pismo for a week last week with the family. But did I guess the week before I did a trio extravaganza with Jesse and Vish, and we're going to do it throughout the football season this year. And I can't wait, man. I love those guys. Those guys are great content creators. So looking forward to that. Check that out tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And I think it will be on this channel. I'm not sure exactly whose channel it will be on. We've discussed different ways of doing it, but look for that tomorrow night at 7. Friday at 11 a.m., the great Jack Hammer is back in the house. I love Jack as well. We'll talk Niners with Jack about all the top topics leading into camp. And then Saturday, Krug and the Coach, Part 4. Gave last week a break because I was in Pismo and San Luis Obispo with the family. But the Coach will be back, and we're going to do regular stuff with the Coach. And I love the passion, and I love the energy that the Coach brings. So check me out with the Coach on Saturday, Hammer on Friday, Lombardi, Vish, and Jesse tomorrow, Raj in about 20 minutes, and help us get to 20,000. We're sitting right there. I want to get to 20,000 before camp. Camp's 5 days away. I'm pretty sure we'll get there, but help out if you can. If you haven't hit like and subscribe, please do. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube. And, we're having a ton of fun doing it. And join us in about 20 minutes for me and Raj. Until then, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for. Here for